Hello everybody, Reggie Time here again, and this is an impromptu video being made basically for two reasons. Number one, I had to be very early this morning because my lovely pussycat had to go for her annual vaccine, her annual booster vaccine. Pretty sure that's a fucking scam, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't have a booster vaccine every year, and I'm still here. I'm not dead. But yeah, we need to go and give the vet 30 odd quid a year just to give her an injection. I mean, they could have been injecting fucking pure water until for all I fucking know. But yeah, so we've done that. We're back home. It's 9:30. I'm not ready to play yet. The games aren't usually that good at this early hour, so I have an hour or so before I want to start playing. And secondly, we had a wild, really wild session at the tables last night. We've got 2, 4, 6, 9. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hands to share this morning from the tables last night. The first two are just regs doing, in my opinion, weird things. And then it starts heating up with um, some pretty spicy hands versus Wales. They're done chronologically, so you hopefully tell the story of the session. The first two hands aren't there from my second session of the night. They're just the regs doing weird shit. That's just the hors d'oeuvre. Once we get into hands 3 through 8, that's when we're going to get into the real fun stuff, and hopefully you boys and girls will enjoy it. So yeah, let's get on to this first. And I've got a horrible feeling that my microphone isn't being picked up very well. And I'm pressing buttons, and I don't think that's going to make any difference. So I hope I don't have to do this all over again, but we'll see. So yeah, let's get on with it. First hand. This is against a regular. This player's an interesting dude. He's pretty tight. He's got a 3x open and a 4x open. Normally 4x, 3x I suspect is his hands he's less happy to play. I don't fucking know, but he definitely has a 3x and a 4x open, and they're yeah, it's not like he's doing this size because there's a short stack in the blind or something. Everyone's fully stacked. The guy's just weird. So we 3-bet the king queen suited from the hijack, from the cutoff. He calls. Nothing untoward so far. Get a 10-9-7 flop. He checks. I'm not going to bet this flop all of the time, but I think this guy's going to be very much, I imagine, like with like small pairs quite a lot. That's my read on the situation. We think we know that he's like 4x in aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, pre, maybe even nines. And we think his 3x is kind of more baby pairs. I know it's difficult to say, but I don't think this board like smashes him particularly hard. And we have 2 overcards, backdoor, flush draw, and I expect just to get a lot of check folds from like pocket fives, pocket deuces. I don't know what the 3x isn't. 4x is his standard open. 3x is probably uses that like maybe 15% of the time, 10-15% of the time. I expected him to fold pre quite a lot. When he didn't fold pre, I'm like, right, okay. Probably just on a little set man or something. So we go ahead and c-bet with our 2 overs, gut shot, backdoor up flush draw. And he goes with a check min raise plus 1 big blind. And I'm like, fuck. Probably just got pocket sevens. Bit of a problem because the check min raise plus 1 big blind, not normally a line you see associated with bluffs. It's normally something that a fish would do for value, or like someone who just thinks you can't call a big raise. I mean, it's something I've done myself from time to time, like the really small raise, but I usually do it against like bad players who, I think maybe are pretty light but just wouldn't want to fold such a size. So it's a pretty fishy looking size, but what are we going to do? We certainly can't go anywhere. So we call. We turn a interesting card because it now brings a 4-liner to a straight. It gives us a nut flush draw. My overs are probably pretty much dead at this point. That's what I was thinking at the time. But we do have like a good shot and a flush draw. I was kind of hoping we didn't see like an all-in here from him, which would be entirely reasonable given there's an SPR of basically 1. But he goes with this size bet, which I just like, what is going on in his hand? In my opinion, when he check raises the flop, he's trying to represent a set or he's representing a set. This guy doesn't have the Jack 8. He doesn't have the 8-6. Just doesn't. He's just not in his range. Almost never anyway. I mean, you can never say never, but I mean, I was safely discounting them. If he's got them, fucking hallelujah. So he's like on the flop and like you're repping a set, mate. Now he's like repping a straight. I'm like, well, one of those things isn't true. We don't know what's going on here, but something isn't ringing true. And on top of that, we were just getting a really good price with our 12 out draw, all to the nuts, you would imagine. I can't imagine he's got any like ace-x diamonds that would ever play this way. So we've got 12 nutted outs, assuming that like the 7 of diamonds and the 10 of diamonds are good, which they may not be, but probably will be. So he call, very unhappy, unimproved. We're just going to check fold the river. So he's going to fold the river to his shove. I mean, there's going to be 10 euros left in the left come the river. Going to be 27 in the pot. So he's going to get like his bluff through here, like for like 1/3 pot, just over, because there's just nothing much you can do. We hit a king. I don't think it's good. But then again, I don't know what he's repping when he goes all in. So I thought this was like a pretty interesting to kick things. I also mentioned yesterday that they enjoyed this format, but they would have liked to see some like more interesting hands versus reg. So that's what these first 2 hands are. Then it's just flat out big pots against Wales afterwards. So yeah, I was like in check fold territory here because like I mean, shoves. What do we beat? You know, what do we beat? Then he checks. I'm like, right, okay. So I go back, play through, and I don't often go into my time, but I'm like, right, on the flop, he's only repping a set for value, maybe 10-9 suited. But on the turn, when he barrels for like 1/3 pot, I'm like, is he still repping a set here? He's still betting a set. Maybe you could still bet a set because I don't rate to have much 8x in my 3-betting range. So maybe he is still repping a set with a smaller bet. Who knows? But then when he checks this river, I'm like, right, well, he knows I don't have any 8x or very little 8x in my 3-betting range from these exact positions. Maybe if I'm getting fruity once in a while, we'll have like 4 combos of ace-8 suited, and then we'll have the 3 remaining combos of 9-8 suited. But we don't have much 8x basically. And I was just very confused, and I just thought I'm just going to do I like turn my hand into a bluff here to try and make him fold a set. There seems a bit shit with just 10 euros left behind. I don't think we can value bet. You know, what do we beat that calls? In the end, I just checked back and expected to lose a lot, but didn't think there was much merit to betting. And he turned that over, and I was like, what on earth has gone on there? Literally no idea what's going on there from Villain's perspective. I mean, I get that he thinks his flop check raise, right? This board doesn't hit my range very hard. I don't improve very often on this board, so I'm going to check raise. I get that. I have no issue with that in theory. But his size, like, you what, mate? You fucking what, mate? What are you talking about? And then the turn barrel small after being called on the flop. It just didn't make sense. It was just like a little bit of nit spew. And we've all done it. I'm not criticising the lad. I just think it's an amusing hand. We've all done a little bit of nit spew now and again. And last night it was his turn. So we won that first pot. Here we are with the second pot. This is going to be blind versus a reg who's on the more loose aggressive side pre, but typically like pretty tight passive post flop. He's a fake lag in my opinion. So we've raised the ace king offsuit pre-flop. He's just called, which I think doesn't mean nothing, but he is pretty active in the 3-bet streets early pre-flop. So when he doesn't 3-bet, I would decide to make some assumptions about his hand. We get the ace 6 deuce, which unless he's flopped 2 pair with the ace-6, then I'm pretty confident we're ahead. Obviously, he can have 6s and deuces too, but on balance, we're very happy with the flop. We go with the c-bet, downsize to 1/3 pot or thereabouts. Opponent just calls. Turn is a 7 of spades. Not normally a card I would love to see, but it's a pretty small spot. It's blind versus blind. Ranges are wide. He doesn't have to just have flushes here. I guess he can have like some combinations of ace-7, 6-7, deuces. So, we're not saying we always have the best hand here, but we're still relatively happy and relatively confident that we have the best hand a decent chunk of the time. And I really don't want to check and just let a spade roll off 5, an 8, a 9. There's so many cards that we see them and we don't know how to proceed. So I elected to continue with the aggression, and we upscaled to around 2/3 pot. And then villain quickly, and it was quite quickly, raises to that size. And right, okay. So he's repping a flush. And that's about it, I think. I don't think, given what I think I know about this player in terms of like his post-flop tendencies versus me, from what I've seen at Showdown, he's not one for like raising weaker made hands here. So I think if he had a hand like ace-6, ace-7, 6-7 on a spade turn, I don't think he would raise. So I think he's pretty when he does make this raise, I think he's pretty polarized. I think he's like, I don't think he waits for the turn to raise a set of deuces or a set of 6s. And if he does, then I don't think he necessarily raises them on a flush card. Because we're still uncapped here. We can still have pocket aces, we can have flushes, etc. So this is pretty polarized. I don't expect him to have too many bluffs. But, I think he's kind of only repping flushes in the dynamic we have and what I think I know about him. Of course, doesn't mean to say my read is by any means like spot on and perfect, but it kind of felt like he was pretty polarized, and I wasn't ready to fold just yet. So I made the call. River is a 7 again, a repeat 7. We check, and he went all in pretty fucking quickly. And again, this is weird because on the turn, he's kind of only representing flushes when he raises. Not only, but in my mind, it's like, right, he's repping a flush or not a lot, given what I think I know about him. Now he wants to overbet, shove the river when the board pairs, and I can absolutely have like pocket aces, pocket 6s, pocket deuces, pockets. I just, on a board pairing river, in my opinion, I have a decent nut advantage here. He doesn't have pocket aces. I do. I can have nut flushes. He can have them too. I can have pocket 6. I can have as many strong hands, if not, more strong hands than he can here, in my opinion. And again, as I said about this guy, he's normally willing, if he's got showdown value, he's normally willing to take it. So when he raises this river, I think he's either like super nutty, like pocket 6s, pocket deuces, which doesn't make sense because I don't think he raises the turn with them. I don't think he just calls the flop and raises the turn. So I don't think he has sets on the turn. I think he mostly has flushes. And then when he shoves the river, I don't think he has many flushes because the board's paired and I can have lots of full houses and he's aware of that. So it just didn't make sense to me. I was in Curious George mode, and like when something doesn't make sense and I have a bluff catcher, I'm normally not good enough to fold. So that was the case here. I didn't fold, and he had that, and I was like, that's didn't understand again, which like the first hand. And again, we've all done these things. I'm not digging the guy out. We've all done these things. It just seemed a bit weird to me. Like, he's telling one story on the flop. He's telling a different story. He told like 3 different stories in the same hand. And maybe he just thinks I'm a massive fucking idiot that overfolds. And if he does, he's probably right. But not versus complete bullshit, not versus bullshit lines that don't make sense to me. If you tell me a credible story, but you've got fucking sausage in hand, you're going to get a bluff through me a lot of the time. But if you're trying to tell a story that like changes on every street because the board changes, then you're less likely. You're less likely to get one through. I mean, if you're good enough to like jam a small flush here, like a 9 high flush or something, then hats off. You're gonna get all my money a decent chunk of the time. But I just thought it was another interesting hand. So now we're moving on to the whale part of the section, and I include myself in that. So here we are, first hand. We've got now we need to start looking at who these villains are, don't we? To give you some more info on them. So we've 3-bet the pocket queens, and this guy at the time we had just 29 hands. He was playing 39, 21, and he seemed like hyper aggro post flop. I just very rarely missed an opportunity to bet or raise. We flop ourselves a set, so we try and set a trap with the dude. He obliges us by betting. We put in a check raise, and this side, we talked about this in the first hand. You're going to look at this and think this size is too small, and it probably is too small. I was trying to induce this guy just to shove, and if I made it too big, then he's just going to get away from a lot of his shit. If he's got, like, I don't know, some random king 8, say, for example, king 8 suited, or some random 9x. I kind of thought we had a lock on the hand. Obviously, we don't particularly want to see a 4-liner on the turn, but if it comes, it comes. When we take this line, I don't give a shit. Against this guy, we're just going to keep putting the money in. But this was designed just to give him opportunities to like punt it off and shove. He just calls. Turns to 10, which is a really terrible card. He can absolutely have some Jack X, King Jack, Queen Jack. He could have flopped straight with the 10 Jack, 9 Jack, but I didn't give a fuck at this point. We've got an SPR of 1. He could definitely have some 2 pairs, maybe just some top pairs still. I guess we could check, and could we think it's aggressive and just let him jam? But I think even the most aggressive dudes don't jam these turns too light. If he's got a hand like, I don't know, King 8, King 7 suited, etc. on this body, he might just check back a decent amount, etc. So just jammed, kind of for value, and not really giving a fuck. If we get called and he's got a straight, then hopefully we bought up. So we jam. He called us very quickly, and he had the Jack 8 offsuit. So fair enough, absolutely fair enough. And we did not win that pot. We did not win that pot. On to the next one. We have pocket 9s. We have a min raise. We squeeze it up, right? I don't always squeeze his hand in this spot, so let me see what we know about our villains. We're already on the maniac table. So we've got a open from somebody playing at the time. We don't know. We had no hands on him at the time. We had a flat call from someone who at the time was playing 89/59. And so we go for the squeeze with the pocket 9s. The 89/59 guy calls, and the open raiser, and the other guy gets out of the way. We get a 6/7 Jack flop, which is less than ideal, but the dude's playing 89/60 or 89/59. What are we going to do? I had to check because this guy was just mashing pot buttons. We're going to see this player quite a lot in the next few minutes. He was mashing buttons, lots, frequently, large sizes. So my strategy was kind of already just make a pair, hang on for grim death. Hard to see what that size is. Is it $4, €4.06? Yeah, it was. We check call. Not loving it, but not folding. Turn is a king. We check. He checks back. River is a queen. We check again, just desperate trying to get to showdown. He decides pot size bet is appropriate, setting us all in. I thought that's a fair price. We'll give it a go, mate. We'll give it a go. We'll see what's going on. expect to lose this a decent amount of the time, but he was just such a maniac. And I don't fold these hands to maniacs. I don't fold bluff catchers to people playing his style. Any bluff catchers whatsoever. And yeah, he had the 10-8 offsuit. And there's more to come from this guy. There's going to be some very, very spicy pots coming in. So on to the next one. We have the Queen 10. At this point, I'd started, because the guy was also just 3-betting everyone's tits up. I think by this point, let's see what my HUD was saying. Yeah, his 3-bet is now up to 50% over 112 hands. He's now showing at 92.70 with a 50% 3-bet. So I'd take it to just limping with a relatively wide range just to get in pots with him. So we get to a flop. We flop an open-ender. And I think this is the aggressive villain who's doing the betting. Let me just run it through. Nope. This is someone who's playing 30/11, but he was already starting to unravel, and he unraveled quite spectacularly, might we add. But he was already starting to unravel. We've got an open-end straight draw. And the question is, when he gets back to us, do we call? Do we just raise here because we've got an open-end draw? And there's dead money in there. You have to presume there's dead money in the pot with this guy. And this is the whale. This is the 92.70. Do we just come in position? We have an easy call. Out of position, the equity realization is going to be difficult because we're going to call miss and then have to check fold the turn a lot. So do we just raise now and fucking run it? Just YOLO. We don't have a very good hand, but we have possibly, potentially, lots of very dead, well, not if not dead money in the pot that we have equity against. I mean, this guy's money's never dead because he just doesn't fold even bad hands sometimes. So what would you do? Would you just call here, or would you be like, yeah, let's just fucking run it now? I went with the yeah, let's just fucking run it now strategy, and we got an all in from this dude. It was like, oh fuck, that's not good. That is not good. This is not a good promising situation, Reg. Then this motherfucker put all his money in. I'm like, right, well, at least we're getting better odds now. YOLO. So in she went. We were up against the pocket queens and the 2 pairs. So we were in pretty rough shape in this spot. I mean, what are you going to do? Oh, that's what you're going to do. You're just going to rip off a fucking turn straight. That's precisely what you're going to do, Reg. Well done, you fucking genius. What a delightful spot. Get it in absolutely diabolical shape against 2 players, and then just don't even wait for the river. Don't even give me the stress of waiting for the river. Just, you need a straight, Reg? There you go, mate. We'll look after you. And, yeah, straight comes sliding in, and all of a sudden, we have a beautiful stack against this guy. We're in a deep stack situation against a maniac, which is one of the most fun spots to be in No Limit Hold'em. So we move on. We have the Ace Queen offsuit. We have our maniac friend who's now on a €90 stack, who has opened to 60. We're just calling. This is going to look really feeble and weak to many of you people, and I get that. But we were out of position. The guy had a 9% at this point. Well, hang on. Let's just make sure our stats are up to date, because all this information is important. The guy had an 8% fold to 3-bet at this point. We are mega deep. I mean, what are we going to make it here? We're going to make it €3. He's going to call with 100% of hands. We're going to miss. He's going to start mashing pot a lot when we check. Didn't like the situation. Didn't want to 3-bet this hand. Now, a lot of people are going, oh, it's a mandatory 3-bet. You know, the guy's playing 92.70. You know, you have to 3-bet this hand. I respectfully disagree. You know, you're going to make all your money from this guy post-flop when he makes some big, big mistakes. Bloating this pot to, say, 3, even if we made it like €4 here, given how deep we are, the guy's not folding. You know, we make it €3, he's not folding. You know, we're going to get to flops where there's 30 plus big blinds in the middle. We're going to be have ace high against somebody who does not stop barreling. Not doing it. I'm just not doing it. You can say what you want about my play here. You can call me weak. I don't care. I think this play is completely fine against this guy because the strategy against this dude isn't bosh him around pre-flop because it doesn't work. He doesn't fold. The strategy is that make relatively strong hands and then value bet him to death or let him bluff his chips off. It's not blow up pots pre-flop out of position and then get into stupid big guessing games. So I didn't elect to 3-bet. He gets squeezed by the 30-11 unraveling guy. He calls. Well, okay, we're calling too. Let's take me to a flop. And we just flop the absolute stone nuts in a rather fascinating Kulovnikov whale spot. But all we can hope for now is that this guy, when he's got his bluffing shoes on or he's got his made a pair shoes on, and hopefully at some point we manage to get all of our €55 30 into the middle. It's the dream spot. It's the absolute dream spot. Sorry if it's a bit boring, but these things happen. We've got the dream spot against a whale. We obviously check. This guy fires a futile c-bet of half pot. It's not getting through him. It's not getting through me. GG your half pot bet, mate. This guy just calls. Yeah, so it's time to raise, isn't it? We were hoping this guy was going to raise. He hasn't, but it's time to raise. It's just a question of like what fucking size. It's an incredibly unique spot. How often are we 300 big blinds deep against a 92-70 out of position with the absolute stone nuts? It's a rare occurrence. It's a rare occurrence. I didn't know what size to make it. I just clicked some buttons and came out at €12.60. The 33-11 guy gets out of the way. After he just goes all in. At this point, I learned for the first time. Well, not actually, it wasn't for the first time. I watched some stream in the afternoon that caused me great pleasure on numerous occasions. But I learned for maybe the second or the third time yesterday that it is entirely possible to ejaculate through an incredibly flaccid penis. Because my penis was flaccid because it doesn't get hard very quickly these days. Didn't have time to get hard, but I coated the inside of my shorts with my third jism of the day. It was quite remarkable. It was highly delightful. It was a wonderful turn of events. So in we go. Couldn't be more delighted to be playing a pot that is just fucking enormous. It's 152. No, it's not 152 euro pot because this guy covers us, but it's a fucking big pot. It's 115 euro pot, and the guy's just got the straight. Unless it comes an ace, we are just dragging quite the marvelous pot, and then that happens. I mean, is that reasonable? Is that fucking reasonable? You get it in against a 92-70 dude. He's drawing stone dead to a chop, at best. And you block the chops. And he goes running diamonds. I mean, I don't know what you lads think, but that seems unreasonable. Doesn't seem fair. I was a bit cheesed off, got to be said. I mean, we not only have we just lost like one of the biggest pots I've played all month with stone nuts against a whale, almost as frustratingly, we're now back down to having just 100 big blinds against this motherfucker, who's now got 750 big blinds. And when we're not close to covering him anymore, we're not even close to like approaching him. The guy was just killing the table. He was fucking killing the table. It was quite extraordinary. It was quite bizarre. Anyway, we move on to the next hand. We're still just got a piss spot 20 euro stack. Very disappointing. We're continuing with our limp strategy because we want this guy to raise. We maybe want to sometimes think about back raising, sometimes think about just getting to a flop and trying to make a hand. Again, you guys won't like this strategy. It's very, very hard, like just trying to get to flops against this dude. I don't just want to be getting all the money in pre against him, like ace king versus whatever. Jack 9 suited. Yeah, great. We get it in with like a, no, fucking 62% equity or whatever. But then the rate takes a massive fucking chunk. I just think it's a better way to play against him. than just like boshing all the money in pre-flop. A lot of you won't like it. I don't really fucking care. He min raises, and we get like this guy, random guy, 3-bets him. We call with the intention of like if he comes over the top again and creates some more dead money, same X4, then I'll get it money in. So I intended to like call again, then just like back raise over his €4 or whatever. Didn't get that pleasure because he just calls, which was surprising. I expected him to just keep. I expected to basically reopen the pot, and he didn't. For bar sales on up flush draw, this dude just leads out all of a sudden. I'm like, yeah, okay. Hopefully this guy raises. We can run it. He just calls, we turn the notes, la 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 la. The most delightful thing about this is we're actually going to have a stack against this guy again. I wasn't even thinking about how much money I was winning. I was genuinely thinking, cool, we're going to have a stack against this dude. Board pairs of river, I don't give a fuck. We're still all in. This guy over here calls. And he had pocket tens and just decided that's a good way to play it. But all of a sudden, we're back up to €50, and we're not covering this guy, but at least we've got like 250 bigs to play pots against him. So moving on to the next one. We have pocket kings. Our friend here has decided to 6x this time, same guy again. We go with the enormous, well not enormous, but the pretty large 3-bet. He calls, and we started this hand like 250 blinds deep nearly. We have 2 kings. What the fuck is? I mean, do we deserve that? I mean, the guy's already had the running flush, and now he's just got the A-side board in a spot where he just gets to put loads of pressure on me. I mean, we can't really value bet here against this guy. We're still 200 big blinds to play for, and life just seemed very unfair, to be honest with you. I started off with a check. I mean, the problem is by checking, we know this guy's going to fucking bet, but he doesn't fold to C-bets either. So if we C-bet, we're still going to be seeing turns the vast majority of the time. And I kind of felt that checking his bluffing range. I mean, his bluffing range and calling range are both going to be pretty fucking wide, but it felt like we might get some check backs. I mean, he didn't always stab versus miss C-bets. Let's have a look at what he was doing. Well, turns out he did always stab. It didn't feel like he always stabbed. But he stabbed 4 out of 4 versus miss C-bets, so I'm talking bollocks. But it just felt to me like it was a spot where we didn't really want to be doing much betting, even though it's a good board for our range, theoretically. He just bets whatever that is, 70% pot, 75% pot. Yeah, whatever, mate. Call, I guess. Turn to 6. He can have 6x because he just playing 100% of hands almost. He can have almost anything. I'm like, oh dear. Because he then does that, and I'm like, all right, okay. Do we just jam it in his face now? What's the point in that? I mean, he's just never going to call with anything worse, you wouldn't imagine. It was a thoroughly unpleasant situation. Do we just fold now and like try and preserve some of our stacks so we're not all the way back down to €20 again? I don't fucking know. But again, as we said earlier, against these sort of players, if I have any kind of bluff catcher, I tend not to fold it, even if we do start the hand close to 250 big blinds deep. River's a complete break. We check. He puts a rest in. There's just no way we're folding. Now, we don't get to this river having put 150 big blinds in and fold for our last 75. We call and we say, right, here you go, start again, Mitch. And he just has 7-8 offsuit. So happy days. All of a sudden, we cover the guy. Going into the next hand. We now have the Ace-King offsuit. Now that we are playing much, much deeper, I've abandoned my limping strategy. And we cover him. So we're going to try and isolate him if we can. He goes with the squeeze. I go with the 4-bet. I mean, I'm not loving getting 300 big blinds in pre here, but if we need, we're just going to have to do it. Again, I guess I could have just gone with the call here and played the pot in position. But and this guy, he'd been up to close to 1,000 big blinds. He was very much on the come down. And I was just feeling my oats. I don't want to get 300 bigs in pre, but if I have to, then I guess I fucking will do. And this guy was going to be losing all his money, in my opinion. And I'd rather he lost that to me than anybody else at the table. So we go with the 4-bet. He calls. Then that's it. We're not folding. We're all in. We just, we've got an SPR left of just over 3. We've got top pair, top kicker in a 4-bet pot against an absolute whopper. So just how's all the money going to go in if we can get it all in? We kick off with a pretty large, this is a 4-bet pot. And I'm still betting this size. This is not a thing. In 4-bet pots, is it a 4-bet pot? 3-bet pot? Yeah, it's 4-bet pot. We're meant to go small here. But again, as we talked about in yesterday's video, I don't do small bets in 4-bet pots against whoppers when I've got a good hand. I just don't do it. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's too fancy. He calls. Turn is absolutely delightful. What can I say? Now it's just, please just have something. Have a queen, have a king, have a 5, have a jack 10, whatever. He checks again. We go with the €20 bet. He calls again. River, the offsuit 6 is just the perfect run out, and we're just going to get the guy, and we're going to have a big fat stack. He donk shoves the river. I'm like, right, okay. Obviously we're never folding. I didn't slow roll the guy. There's just no way we're going to be beat here, is there? So in she goes, and he had the 3-6 of hearts. He rivered a pair and value bet for his last 100 big blinds. So that's how we ended up with a nearly 750 big blind stack. It was quite the session. It was quite the fucking session. At my peak low, I think I was down about €50. And at my peak high, I think I ended up finishing the session €93 up. It was quite the wild session. It was the little jiggle on my graph looks like I've been playing 50-L, and it was all down to this guy who was just setting the table on fire. I'm not sure my adjustments to him were that good, but I think they were better than some of the rest of the table's adjustments. There was another reg at the table, and he just wasn't in the mix. I checked his session stats, and he was playing. He normally plays something like 25-18 with a 6% 3-bet, and this session with this guy at this table went on. It was like a 90 or 100 hands, and maybe the reg just had shit card distribution, but his stats were something like 11-6. And I was like, what? You've got an absolute whopper just kicking off, and you're tightening up. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm not saying my adjustments were fantastic. I know some of you guys will absolutely hate the open limping that I was doing. You will hate the way I played the Ace King of Clubs pre-flop, etc. But I think whatever you do, any adjustment you make that doesn't involve getting tighter is going to be good when you've got a player like that at the table. My adjustments, maybe they're not brilliant, but they're better than going down to playing 11/6. So there you go. There is the video. It's a it wasn't a planned video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The last video yesterday, let's face it, these replay videos, they don't do very well. If this was a Triple Eight live play boring video where I spent 45 minutes folding and playing against a bunch of absolute cretinous stains, the video would get probably 3 times the amount of views. I personally think these videos are much better. But they don't do as well on views, but I don't really care. It is what it is. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope some of the hands are interesting enough to spark some interest in the comments section. And yeah, this will almost certainly be my last video till next week, but who knows? I'm free Thursday morning. If I'm up early and I've got some stuff, you never know. But it's very likely going to be the last video until next Monday. So we'll leave it there, everyone. Have a fantastic day. Take care, and bye-bye for now.